Okay, so we will go through the chapter 734. Given that you have already taken a look and solved by yourself, let's go over the first question, which is to calculate the sales volume variance and the flexible budget variance. For this, we need to first have three columns. So on the left-hand side, you will have the actual. On the right-hand side, you will have the static budget amount. And on the middle, you will have the flexible budget amount. Okay, so we will first start off from the revenue. And then we will have costs. And if you see, there are three different costs, which is direct material cost and direct labor costs, as well as the fixed cost. These are the three main costs that are given in this example. Okay, so DM, DL, and the fixed cost. And then we don't see any other SG&As. So after deducting this, we'll be having the operating income. Okay, so let us first start from the actual because that's most easiest. So it says that actual number that's produced and sold in 2020 is 5,100. So that's going to be our Q. And our actual selling price is going to be 730. Right? So 5,100 times 730. And the let's do the calculation one by one. I'll also do it on my computer. So that's going to be $3,723,000. Okay. And now let's move on to the direct material cost. So the Q is going to be 5,100. And we need to find the unit direct material cost, actual. And, actually, it's not given. Let's use this sentence right here, which is actual cost of material used is 1,149,400 based on 70,000 input and $16.42 per pound. Okay. So we can actually bring this actual number right here. The same for the direct labor cost, which is right here, 572,900. Okay, and the actual fixed cost is 1.2. Okay, now let us deduct all these costs from the revenue. All right, so now we're going to have $800,700 as our OI. Before jumping into the flexible budget amount, let us do the static budget first because that's based on the budgeted number. Okay, so the budgeted Q is given as 6,100 and the budgeted price is given as 700. Okay, so let's also do the calculation and we'll be getting $4,270,000. Okay. Now for the static budget DM, what can we do? We need the budgeted Q times the budgeted direct material cost per output, right? So the budgeted output quantity is 6,100. And the budgeted direct material per output is given here, right here, as 224. Okay. So that's going to be 1,366,400. All right. Now for direct labor cost, we can do the same. The budgeted quantity output is 6,100 and the budgeted labor cost per output is 114, right? Then we will have 695, 1,400. And then for the budgeted fixed cost, we have right here 1,350,000, right? All right. So let us also deduct these costs from the revenue. All right, then what we have is $58,200 as our bottom line number. All right, for the flexible, remember that the difference between static budget and flexible budget is that we're going to flex Q as the actual Q. Okay, so the only difference is that we're going to replace 6,100 with 5,100, which is our actual output. Okay, so 51,700 right here. 5,100 times 224, 5,100 times 114, and fixed cost is exactly the same as static budget fixed cost, right? As I said, the static budget fixed cost and flexible budget fixed cost is same as long as Q is within the relevant range. All right, so let us deduct these costs from revenue. So for simplicity, let us calculate these, deduct these from 700 first to calculate revenue minus the direct costs. So that's going to be 1,846,200, and then we're gonna further deduct the fixed cost. Okay, so then we will have 496,200. All right, are we done here? Almost there. So we need to calculate the flexible budget variance, right? And the sales volume variance. All right, so the flexible budget variance difference can be calculated based on these two numbers. And that's going to be $304,500. And since the actual is greater than the flexible budget amount, we say it's favorable. Okay. Now let us calculate the sales volume variance. Then we have $362,000. And since I've said that between these two, flexible budget will be deemed close to the actual. And we see that the actual is less than the static budget. So we say it's U. Okay. Yeah, so this is what we should have got for the number 1. All right. And then for number 2, we need to compute the price and efficiency variance for material and labor costs. Okay, let us first calculate for the DM price variance. So DM price variance is recognized on the timing of purchase, right? So when we mean by price, it's about the purchase price. And remember, the price variance can be calculated as actual price minus the standard price times the actual Q. Note that these prices mean the input prices and input quantity, now not the output. Okay, so the actual price of DM is actually given right here, 16.42. And the standard price is given here as 14. All right, times the actual input quantity. So the actual input quantity is given here as 70,000 pounds. 70,000 pounds. Okay, so Let us calculate the difference. That's going to be $169,400. And it's going to be U because the actual acquisition price is greater than the standard price. Okay, and then for the DM usage variance, actual Q minus the standard Q times the standard price. Okay, so again, 70,000 minus the standard quantity can be calculated as based on the actual output quantity times the standard input quantity per output, right? So the actual quantity of output is 5,100. And the standard input quantity per output is 16. Right? And then the standard price again is 14 from above. All right, so let's calculate this. So we have $162,400. And since the usage is actually less than what they should have used for the actual output Q, this is favorable. Now let us do the same for DL price and DL usage. So the DL price variance can be calculated as using the same thing, right? So actual price minus standard price times actual Q. So actual price is given as 33.70, and the standard price is given at 30 times the actual quantity, which is the actual labor hour used, which is given here as 17,000. Okay, so let's do the difference. And we have $62,900 unfavorable, right? Let us do the efficiency variance. So here, this also the formula is right here. So actual labor hour used, again, is the 17,000. And the standard labor hour used is based on the actual output Q, 5,100, times the standard labor hour, which is 3.8, times the standard price. Okay, so the standard price is right here, 30, right? Okay, so let us also calculate the difference. We have $71,400. Yeah, so it's favorable, right? So yeah, this was all for number 2. Now let us move on to the next question. So also I'm going to assume that you have read all the question and also did the computation by yourself. Okay. And yeah, you see the standard price and standard quantity information above, and these are some other additional information. Okay. So let us first calculate the labor variance. Okay, so labor variance again can be calculated based on the DL price variance and the DL efficiency variance. The DL price variance is I'm bringing up the formula just in case. Actual price minus standard price times actual Q. So actual wage rate, is it given somewhere here? Well, we need to use these two information, which is the actual labor cost and the actual labor hour. Actual wage rate is this labor cost divided by the labor hour, right? And then the standard price is given as, let's see, right here, 14.30 times the actual Q. So actual Q is the actual labor hour used, which is 41,000. Okay. Then we have 594,500 minus 14.30 times 41,000 is 586,300. Right. Okay, so let us take the difference. And we have 8,200. And since the actual price is greater than budget, we say it's unfavorable. Now let us move on to the efficiency variance. So again, this is actual quantity minus the standard quantity times the standard price. So actual labor hour used is 41,000 and the standard labor hour for the actual output Q. So the actual output Q is given as 5,500. Okay. And then the standard input quantity. So the standard hour used for each output is 10. Right. The standard wage rate is again given as 14.30. Okay, so let us calculate this difference. And we have 200,200 favorable. Okay, now the next question is to compute the actual pound used in production in July. Okay. So if you see this, you may guess, all right, so is it the time we need material, right? So perhaps we can use material efficiency variance, which was the actual quantity minus the standard quantity times the standard price. And right now, we need this actual Q. This is the not known part, right? And the standard quantity can be somewhat calculated, right? And the standard price can also be used based on the information. All right, so let us perhaps for convenience calculate this on this page. Okay, so the DM efficiency variance is 1,700 favorable. That means, again, the actual Q minus the standard Q. And the standard Q can be based on the actual output Q, 5,500 times the standard input quantity per output, which is given as 40, right? 40 times the standard price, right? So standard price is 2. And note that in order for 1,700 to be favorable, in actual term, it should be negative 1,700, right? Okay. So this part right here is 220,000. Okay. And then this is 2. And let me actually bring 2 right here. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you see this, minus 850. And on the right-hand side, you see this. So actual quantity used should be 220,000 minus 850. So that's going to be $219,150. Okay. So that's going to be our question 2. Now moving on to 3. This is about actual price per pound of direct material purchased. Okay, so for that, we can use these two information, right? The cost of material purchase and material purchase quantity. So actual price is nothing more than dividing this actual purchase cost by the purchasing amount. Okay, so when you do that following, you will be getting 2.7. Okay, so that's easily done, right? And then for 4, calculate the material price variance. So for this, we can use actual price minus standard price times actual Q. So again, let's see. Actual price is going to be 2.7 that we have just got. The standard price is given right here as 2. And then this is something to note. For actual quantity, this is not based on the actual quantity used, but it's based on the purchase. Because if you remember, the timing when we record the price variance was when we purchased materials, right? So AQ purchased is actually 116,000, not this one that we have got right here, okay? So that's something to note. Okay, so that's going to be $112,000 unfavorable. All right, so that's going to be it, and hope this helps. And I'll see you next class.